Hi, everybody. It is Megan Gill here with Paint, Flowers, and More. And today we are going to paint a wintry watercolor loose landscape scene. So I am going to try to do this in 20 minutes because that's literally all the time I have and have to get out the door. So let's see what we're going to do. All right, let's change this up. Okay, so today what I have for you is my watercolor block. I have two paintbrushes. This is a Neptune number 6, I think, and this is a Simply Simmons number 2. And I'm going to use the sap green Reeves, so nothing very special here. This is just regular Michaels almost, and Payne's Gray. And let's see what we've got. So what I have over here is a dry erase board, honestly. And I'm just going to put a little here. And the thing about watercolor is you don't have to have a lot. And that is fantastic and so easy, honestly. And I'm going to set this timer for 15 minutes. Okay, maybe 18. That's so I can see it. All right. And I have a little bit of water over here in a cup. And I have some scrap paper just to play with real quick. So I'm going to get some water on my brush. And I'm going to come over here in my Payne's Gray area. And I'm going to do just a nice little square here. I'm going to even put a little bit right there. I have a paper towel, and then I'm going to do a little bit of my sap green. Okay, so now that is really, really, really bright, right? So what I'm going to also do is I'm going to take a little bit of Payne's Gray. So there's my little bit of Payne's Gray here. And then I'm also going to take a little bit of my sap green. And I'm going to go right on top of it to see what color I get here. Now, I am definitely liking that a little bit better than that green, right? I have a good old shadow happening, don't I? Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this and I'm going to I'm going to do this fast because that's what this is all about. And I'm going to take a little bit of the Payne's Gray and I'm going to do a little bit of a mountain scene. Now, this is a Bob Ross special here. You see how I'm just kind of going in and adding just a tad bit of mountains here. Now, the way Bob would do it is that he would then say one side is going to be your shadow side. So what is your shadow side? And I'm going to make it this side over here. Okay, so you always make it kind of, what's the word for it? Choppy. And you see how it goes into, it gets lighter. The reason it gets lighter, I'm going to just add a little bit of water right here so that goes together. And a little bit of water right here so that goes together. But those sides that are supposed to be in shadow, I'm going to dot a little bit of Payne's Gray in it. Okay. This one's going to be in the foreground. Okay. So now I've got that. Now what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to take a little bit more of this Payne's Gray and I'm going to add a little bit of, what's the word for it? I'm going to add a little bit of a margin right here. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to go and I'm adding just some looks of some bushes, not bushes, but actual trees. Now I'm going to come in here and now I'm going to mess up. Really, all I really want to see is those tips of these trees. So you're just kind of going back and forth like a little zigzag over. And I'm still using my big brush because I want this to be blurry. And we want it to be blurry because we're trying to do this nice and loose, right? Okay, so now I'm going to keep going. I'm going to come in and add a few right like that. And I'm going to just add, notice all I'm doing is just adding a little bit of water to my brush. You see, I don't go back very much for more paint because I'm wanting this nice and light and airy atmosphere type thing to it. So I don't have to add too much. And you're like, this just looks like a bunch of lines and globs. That's kind of what we're going for here. Now I'm going to take just clean water and I'm going to come down here and add a light wash. See if I can't get that to lighten up even more. Okay, now it's going to get a little darker the closer it gets to us, right? So basically what I've done here is I have made some perspective. And so I'm coming back in and I'm adding just a little bit of darkness to that, just to add it. Now that's a little too much darkness. So what I'm going to do is just come in with my water and come and do that. Now I like that. Now here's the thing. This is really, really wet. So if I put anything on top of it, it's going to have a problem. So what I can do is I still want this to be a little darker. I'm deviating from my plan. It's never good. Okay, and here we go. I like the fact that that's a little bit darker now that you can see it a little bit. Okay, so 6 minutes in, and now we've got to do some more stuff. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to add another layer, but I'm going to add it with a darker, I'm going to start with this Payne's Gray, and then I'm going to go over it with green. And it's going to be just a little bit more, and this time I'm going to go this way with it. So I'm going to start here, get a little bit bigger. See, I'm getting a little bit bigger and a little bit smaller as I go here. Okay, notice this is just lines. There's nothing special about this. That is what's so great about winter scenes. And notice I'm really only dealing with 2 colors here. And you see how it's blending up there at the top? That's working for me too. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my little zigzags again. Okay, so I'm just coming in. And I'm not even really doing it on every single one of these lines. I'm kind of, well, these over here I am, I guess, because they're a little far apart. But, okay, so here I have it going in. It's going to almost nothing over here. I want this to be a little bit darker. So I just keep getting a little bit more of that Payne's Gray. Now, I'm going to actually get a little bit of the green now. This is that sap green just from, wish it was a little darker, but that's okay because what's going to happen is that it's going to blend here on the paper for me. I don't have to mix it. I want it to sit right on top of this Payne's Gray. You see how they're getting bigger and they're looking like some bushes or some trees. We don't have to add too much to this. And we're kind of going right on top of what we've done. And even when we get to this part down here where it's kind of fading out, I'm just adding some lines to make it look like that. That's all. At this point in time, it should look like mush. Now, I'm going to bring this out with some water. Just like that. Nice. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to think about where Bob would always say, I think we're going to put a big tree somewhere, right? So where are we going to put this big tree? So I still kind of want it over here, but this is really, really wet. So this is when I have my heat tool and I'm going to do a real quick little hit it with my gun for just a minute. And I want it to be a little bit damp. You see, you don't see any gloss. That means I've done well. And now I'm going to make a little bit of that third green, that green right there. Okay. So I'm going to take some green, bring it over here. You see, I'm making a puddle. And then I'm going to take a little bit of this Payne's Gray and add it together. Ah, that's better. I like it a lot. Okay, so, and now I'm going to add my big tree. So this is the Bob Ross moment here. We're going to sit here and we're going to go all the way down. Now that's a big tree. We're going to work with it. Okay, I might do another one right next to it, but it's going to be shorter. And maybe a next one right there. We'll see how that goes. So now I get some of this on my paintbrush. It's kind of wet. All right. That's okay at the moment. So I'm going to come in and I'm just flicking. Do you see how I'm not going everywhere? You got to start small and then go out. Okay. And if it blends with things, that's okay. All right. So here I am feeling like this is getting to be a wet mess, but I'm still doing all my motions. So it's a little stippling motion, but it's also in a zigzag while I'm also over here making my paint as I go along. A lot of people feel like they have to have the same color every single time, but that is not true. I think it's actually better if you mix as you go because that makes it a little bit more interesting. And I know that drives some beginners absolutely crazy, but that gets interesting things happen. So I like the way that's working. And now I'm going to come in and I'm going to do it to the other one. Okay. Now notice this one's a little drier. I don't have as much water over here in my puddle. Okay, here we go. It looks like I have only 6 minutes left. I'm going to go off the page. Now, what would I do in the last 6 minutes left of my class or of this painting? This is why I wanted to do this. I wanted to see how fast I could do this. And on camera, that's fun. That's really fun. Okay. And it's my first time back since, well, I guess maybe July. I don't know. Okay. So here I am adding some more. What's going to happen now is notice how it's getting drier as I go. So I'm adding a little bit more details as I kind of go here. Now, when you add dry watercolor, it's kind of like painting with acrylic at that point, which works, right? I just don't want you to work that way all the time because that basically what you're doing is you're not painting the watercolor look, right? Like you're not using it for what it's meant to be. Okay, so here I am. I've got that. Now I'm going to take a little bit of this darker color and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add it to some of the bottoms of this tree. And you see when I do that, I'm adding a lot more dimension in here. All right. Yeah, it's kind of starting to look a little liney kind of, but what's the thing is that, well, they actually do run in lines. I do like it all thickened right here in the center of it. And then I'm going to add a little bit of water because down here, I want to make it kind of nice. Okay, so I'm going to take me I've got 5 minutes left. Here we go. I'm going to take me a gray. You see, I just added some water. It has some green in it, but I'm going to just come in and add it right there. Now, what are we going to do right here? That's a little bit of a condom. I don't know what I'm condom. I can't say it. A problem. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to take a little bit of this gray and I'm going to come in and add maybe, what am I going to do here? Just add some kind of see how I've added just a little bit more interest right here. And then I'm going to take this and add it down. Okay. Now, I'm going to come in with some just this Payne's Gray, and I'm going to add a little bit here just to make this one. This one is the closest, so it should have the most detail. Okay, I'm liking that. I'm thinking that's working. I want to make this, so it's 5 minutes left. Doing good here, 4 minutes. Okay. And so all I'm doing is adding a few little just zigzags. That's all this is just zigzags. Okay, now I'll tell you a few things that I'm going to critique about this. I like this tree. This is a wash of stuff. This is like a blurb of stuff. So what I can do is I can sit here and pick one and make it go a little bit more. But it's a little too wet to do that in 4 minutes. But you see how I'm just adding some darks to this. But I'm not covering up all of it. That's the key, is that you can't cover it up all of it. You got to leave those lights. All right. The key to this is not to overdo it. So what I'm actually going to do, hit this. With a hairdryer, a heated tool. And then I have a Posca marker here. This is a Posca marker, and it is a fine tip, and it is white. Normally I use acrylic paint, and that's sort of what this is, but I wanted to see how I could use this brush. You want it to be dry. So I've got a little bit of puddles down here, but that's okay. And you got to shake it pretty well. And then I'm going to come in and add some. I'm adding it to the top, and I'm making it kind of drippy. So what I'm doing is I'm actually paying attention to this dark stuff, and I'm putting it right on top. Now, I'd have to tell you, I kind of like seeing this with a thicker than this fine tip. But it's working. All right. The reason I'd like it bigger is because this looks a little, if you're this far away, it's not this liney, right? It's kind of clumpy, which I can come in here and do this with my finger. It's not really giving me the perfect effect that I want, but it will do for what I wanted it to do. Just add a little bit of white texture. Now you could have done this with white gouache. You could have done this with the white that comes in your kits. And I like it. It just doesn't seem to stick as well, honestly. All right. And then I'm going to come in and just add a little bit of here. See how, there we go. Ooh, that was a lot. That's the problem with pens. But your fingers are your friends. Add a little bit to this mountain here. And that is my time. Okay, so here's what I'm going to zoom in here where you can see it. All right, and there's 20 minutes of that. If you like what you see here, then you can go to meganbaileygill.com/signup and visit my newsletter and see more. And I will talk to you next time. See ya. Bye.